gentlemen, welcome to the Esteemed FaceTime with Leaders, an initiative by World Development Corporation. I am Falak Khan, anchor at World Development Corporation. FaceTime with Leaders is a platform for industry titans to share their experiences, thoughts, ideas, and best practices in order to inspire one another and future leaders. In a nutshell, we attempt to encapsulate the multi-decadal learnings acquired by these industry leaders. We also hope that by conducting these FaceTime with Leaders interviews, we can bring together a global community of eminent personalities. By bringing together such visionaries on one platform, we hope to play a part in inspiring the lives of other leaders. Great learnings from great leaders undoubtedly assist everyone by identifying, nurturing, and using the trade secrets that are proven success formulas for many. And this is what we aim for with these sessions by making them a gathering of industry stalwarts and a knowledge-sharing community. We have one such industry titan on FaceTime with Leaders with us today, Ms. Alfons Madoc. Hello, welcome, Ms. Madoc. We are glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders.
Same here. Thank you.
Let me give you a quick brief about Ms. Madoc. She is a highly experienced HR professional with over 2 decades of cross-functional and highly developed expertise in corporate strategic planning and recruitment, policy advisory and formulation, employee engagement, executive development, and performance management. She has worked in various HR roles across diverse sectors, including foreign missions, international schools, corporate healthcare, charitable private missions, and large private pharmaceutical companies. She also possesses comprehensive knowledge of labor laws and conditions of service. Currently, she is working as head HR and organizational culture at American Embassy School, where she carries out courses like reviewing HR policies and processes and updating and communicating with all staff, developing and maintaining an exceptional team of educators, driving a creative, comprehensive recruitment strategy for all staff, and helping develop best human resource practices focused on the mission, among other things. So, Ms. Madoc, could you let our viewers know about your career journey so far?
Sure. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Thank you so much.
My career journey started at the age of 20 years as a management trainee with Cipla Pharmaceuticals. I worked in Cipla for 5 years. And in those 5 years, I received 6 promotions and rose up from a management trainee to a regional manager. My role was mainly marketing and sales and getting the required targets and achieving the targets. And the key to my success in my first organization was purely results. And that's my first journey, but it was so fabulous. And the growth was so great over the 5 years that I was so overwhelmed. I wanted to give back to the society. I wanted to do some work either with an NGO or an organization that really does good work. That got me into St. Stephen's Hospital. It was a charitable mission hospital in Old Delhi, which caters to the poorest and the marginalized sections of the society. There, it was a huge transition for me. From a pharmaceutical, I moved to healthcare. And from marketing, I moved to an HR. And in many ways, from my job being just an occupation, it became a vocation. But the job there, I worked there for 9 years. It was amazing. The work in such an organization where people are the key and how we cater to the lesser privileged was the hallmark of it. So each person did the best that they could, and the human values were respected. Somewhere after that mission healthcare hospital, I moved on from that to a corporate healthcare. I joined Fortis Healthcare after that and worked there for about 6.5, 7 years. And was there as the assistant general manager for HR and looked after 4 hospitals of Fortis, which was situated in Delhi and North India. That was also a unique experience. When it comes to corporate healthcare, the finances and the business aspect becomes supreme. And here is where the HR role integrates very strongly and very closely with business leads. And the role of HR cannot be understated in its strategy, in its decision making, in its daily P&L evaluation, whether it's top line and bottom line. Manpower costs come out to be a huge portion of the total cost, and thereby a very key piece to the business operations. And this is where a good HR lead can actually steer an organization's business in a real positive manner by balancing the numbers and the ethics of it all in a corporate healthcare setup. After working 7 years, I had always dreamed to work in a foreign mission. And all of a sudden, there was an opportunity that arose in an Australian High Commission, and they were looking for an HR lead. I moved there next. And in the Australian High Commission, again, a government setup, a foreign government setup, but a lovely experience. I worked there as a regional manager for the Southwest Asian region. And I was leading the HR for 8 posts of the Australian mission. These 8 posts included 4 posts in India and 4 posts outside, including Sri Lanka, Dhaka, Kathmandu, and Kabul. So 8 posts of HR, and that was a wonderful journey, I must say. The global outreach of HR, how HR functions beyond the Indian borders, how the cross-cultural experiences and cross-cultural competencies come into play is amazing. And here again, it's a beautiful institution, one of the best employers, any given mission, where the focus is not just results as I experienced and the people, but also on how you do what you do. So while the results are important, but how we get those results become equally important. And in a set pattern where there are systems and processes in place, it was a place where I could bring about also many changes, institutionalize various projects, work on work level standards across all missions across the globe, and a wonderful exposure in HR. I think it was towards the close end of the pandemic when the American Embassy School was looking for a director of HR. The pandemic had hit badly the school's HR department, and it had almost wiped out quite a number of people, and it was in a little bit of a situation when I joined in. But I joined in here leading the HR and, as they call it, the organizational culture. But one thing that I totally relate with as far as a school where I'm presently at, and I've worked here now for 2 years and still working here, is its mission. And the mission is as simple as joyful pursuit of excellence. So starting with results in CIPLA, moving on to people and the importance of people, then moving on to finances and how that adds up to a business, then moving into systems and processes and how we do what we do. I've come to a place where it is also important to know why you do what you do. So the why of you working, the how you do it, and the what, all of that becomes important. And also the fact that there is an expression of joy in it. We don't just do a job. I mean, it is something that we really enjoy doing. So that was one. And the school that we are working in, again, my task is primarily to get the best educators from across the globe. So we have in our school 70 teachers from about 70 different nationalities. And so also the children who study in our school are from different nationalities, 70 plus nationalities. So here the cross-cultural exposure is immense. And then there's a lot of learning, but there's also a lot of potential to do a lot more. So it has been 2 years here. So it has been a lovely journey over a combination of healthcare, pharmaceuticals, foreign missions, and now in an international school.
That's really very interesting and wonderful to know indeed your career journey. So as you have a really vast professional purview, which of your roles have you enjoyed the most since you mentioned your wonderful career journey with us?
Honestly, Falak, I've enjoyed all my jobs. And I don't say this for anything, but I've really enjoyed where I am in every role. I can add, however, to answer this question, that with the Australian High Commission, I maybe I can add a little more over there. Um, and that's the last job that I worked in. The organization gave a global exposure to me. I could interact with HR heads across about 100 countries across the globe. And that exposure for me was wonderful and a great learning. And honestly, what we do in India and the leaders and the quality of people that we have is outstanding. So we are also able to share knowledge and expertise and our perspectives, which is widely appreciated as well. We had a wonderful program where we had to reassess the work level standards, the work level standards across all the missions of the Australian High Commission. And that got me to actually assess every role along with the Australian team, the diplomats. And it was a journey where it helped them because they had the understanding of an expert in HR. It helped me because I got a global perspective. So there was a lot of independence and it was an amazing. So not just doing the right things, but also, I mean, the ethics of it was important. So the focus was on, of course, doing always right. There is no potential of doing something wrong or being inappropriate in language, but also the importance of being seen as also doing right. So even the public perspective was important for a foreign mission. So we couldn't do anything that also would not look good on us as an institution or as an individual. So there were various aspects that was outstanding over there. But yes, I got to implement the work level standards, introduced and mentoring policies so that when we come into a culture like this, everyone follows that. It has to be from the grassroots. It cannot be just a few people leading the flag. The institution is only as good as the worst person or the weakest person, if we were to say so. It is important that everyone is equally imbibed. So the training programs were robust. We had at least a dozen plus mandatory trainings, whether it was fraud awareness, whether it's ethics, whether it's fire and safety, whether it's work health and safety, diversity and inclusion, prevention of sexual harassment at workplace. And we had a wonderful system, and a periodic renewal for every individual, every employee on an annual basis. So the kind of volumes that we were able to work over there, and with that consistency that we were able to work, was amazing. Yes, we had good software systems to help us with, whether it was for recruitment or training. There were a lot of modules and access to knowledge and information that we could work out with. Yes, and overall, that I think was yeah, I could relate that as one of those where I've enjoyed most. But as I said, when I started, I've enjoyed every year of my professional journey.
That's really great and wonderful to know, ma'am. So you've been honored with several awards and accolades. Which one do you regard as your greatest achievement so far?
I did think about this, and this may sound odd, but my first job where I became the regional manager, I was the first woman regional manager in CIPLA. And when I talk about that time, it was 1997. And possibly in 1997, I was not just the first woman in CIPLA, I must have been the first woman regional manager across the pharma industry. And I became that before I turned 25. So for me, in my heart, it is not an award that is listed, but I always cherish that journey as my first journey and my first love in many ways. So that for me is memorable. And the fact that maybe I got 6 promotions in 5 years' time, I'm also very proud of. But if you want a more recent one, I can say when I worked in the Australian mission, I was awarded by 2 high commissioners, the High Commissioner's Excellence Award. So that was something special to get it from 2 different ones. The High Commissioner's Excellence Award. So yeah, probably I could add that.
Indeed, a very commendable feat, I must say. So as you have handled some philanthropic activities, which are the most remarkable of them?
When I When I worked in St. Stephen's Hospital, it's a Christian mission hospital where at least 70% of its beds are earmarked for the general category, and it is subsidized to at least 40% of the actual cost of the beds. So while my role was primarily into HR, whenever I got an opportunity, I worked as a social worker there. That hospital is still doing genuinely good work. So it is resting in an old Delhi where there is a lot of poor population, and Stephens is more than 100 years old hospital, and people know it to be a hospital that they can afford when they can't afford a private institution otherwise. So it is a liaison between the management and the people if they need financial help to get their medical treatment. So while outpatient OPD runs free, that's a consult, but very often they need investigations, they need medicines, and occasionally they need to be hospitalized as well. So this is where somewhere it was a conduit whenever I got the time, a conduit between the management who would be agreeing to take on these patients as free patients. And because there are so many and you want to help all, but you really can't help all, but you do as much as you can as a conduit. So that was lovely. And I managed to do quite a bit even in my 9 years that I spent in St. Stephen's. That is besides my primary role in what was earlier called personnel manager. So this bit of a social work was something that I did. When the institutions like the Amity universities or YMCA or any of these educational institutions have called me to give a talk up to their final year students, to encourage them, tell them what real world, corporate world looks like, what does success mean to them, how do you gain success. So I do take every opportunity to go and talk to them. Also with various NGOs who are working into underprivileged sections of the society, whether it is Sundar Nagri area or certain pockets of Delhi, which are definitely underprivileged. So I try and get people or children from there if they want to get internship opportunities. So whether it was in Fortis, whether it was in the Australian mission, and even now here in the American Embassy School, whenever I get an opportunity to give an underprivileged a chance of an internship, I would surely do that. But that is one thing that I am very passionate about, giving everyone an equal footing in their career journey.
Okay, so when we talk about ESG, as an ESG and corporate governance expert, what values do you offer to the corporate world?
Okay. As far as ESG is concerned, I think I can offer three areas in which I can contribute. One is that I've just finished up this training finishing up the training on ESG expert from the DI Institute, and now I've got the knowledge of its principles. So I'm in a capacity to guide companies how they can integrate the ESG principles into their day-to-day strategies, into their decision making. I can share how it is important in the long-term value proposition for an organization. So that is the knowledge bit where I can help. The second portion is in the social aspect of the ESG. As an HR professional, as a person who's dealing with people, I think the social aspect is where I can really help in the stakeholder engagement angle. So whether it is employees, investors, shareholders, community, society as a whole, with my communication skills and my experience with HR and labor relations, I can help build strong relationships for the organization that I can work with. And I think that social aspect is a key of the ESG program. And the last bit of the governance or the corporate governance bit, I think covers up in two angles. One, of course, is the ethical aspect. Now, when it comes to ethical conduct, that is something as an HR professional, we are tailored from the very beginning. And I personally come from a family who has stood very strong on value system. And my parents have said that it doesn't matter what marks you get. It doesn't matter how much money you earn. It is important that you be a good person. And every day you try to be a better version of yourself. So I think the ethics about what I bring to the table is combining with my professional and my personal value system, and helps in enabling an institution to deal with accountability, with transparency, and ethical decision making. And that's my forte and my strength, where I kind of get that across. The second aspect of governance would be in its laws and its so labor laws I'm strong on. I've done now the Companies Act pretty well. So that is where I can probably add value. So yes, at least in these three spheres, I think I can contribute to a company, to the corporate world.
Definitely. We hope so, and wish you the best for the same too.
Thank you.
When we talk about technology, what are some of the most remarkable changes you have seen in your field with changes in technology? And what changes do you expect to see with the advent of IoT, AI, ML, blockchain, big data, and Web 3.0?
Okay. I can answer on the first question, which is in my field. So if I were to take HR as an example of the sphere that I am currently in,
yes,
every aspect of HR. You talk about recruitment and talent acquisition, whether it's online portals, whether it's application tracking system, whether it's the use of AI to screen resumes when you get plenty. At every step of the recruitment and talent acquisition, there is technology involved, a very big function. Second aspect I can think of is in day-to-day data analytics. So we need data. It helps us show the trends. It helps us even predict turnover. If you have last couple of years data presented, you know the turnover, you know what you can expect. You can even assess performance. These days with diversity inclusion being very important, we have the data on diversity, the numbers, the count. So in all forms of data analytics, it's very helpful. With the pandemic, I think every industry, including in HR, the remote working has touched every life. There is hardly anyone who's not touched. Even a child who's going to school has started using computers and technology. And in workspaces, it has been virtual teams, right? It has been communication and collaboration much more probably through this virtual medium. So yes, the pandemic has also added that flavor. The learning and development that we do now, everything, there's so many online courses. A lot that was available in classrooms earlier are now available online. And there is a lot more learning opportunities and through technology. Performance management, yes, rather than a one pager that we fill up at the end of the year. On paper, it is now a day-to-day feedback on an app, on a software, which is enabled. You want to give a feedback to your peer, you can. You want to give a feedback to your downline, you can. You don't have to wait for a quarter or 6 month or an annual appraisal. So the technology has enabled that in a very easy manner, just like the leave and attendance. Some institutions have it, some institutions don't. But if you want to record attendance, it is no longer requiring a system or a paper. You just have it on your cell phone today. You want to request for leave or get any expenses approved, it is still on your app, on your mobile that we work on with. So technology in every sphere of HR. Now we also provide wellness programs, we provide insurance apps, reimbursements. You talk about it. I think in every aspect of HR there is technology. So yes, it is remarkable changes, and this is not now, it is over the last 10 years that we've seen, on maybe more. When your second question, probably on Internet of Things and others, I think those are in a wider concept. If I were to think, it enables from an ESG standpoint also real-time tracking. There's a lot of real-time tracking, whether it's in energy consumption, whether you want to do emissions, there is a lot of data. And if you talk about artificial intelligence, hundreds and thousands of rows can be analyzed in a matter of seconds. So the large volumes now is no longer a big sweat. It is done as effortlessly as just a few rows of data. And coming from an HR standpoint, I think in terms of communication and collaboration and stakeholder management, communication, social media platforms, all of them have enabled greater communications. And if there are queries, for instance, that we have, whether it's from our investors, from our customers, or even employees as I deal with it, the technology helps us promptly answer them. So it does work. And whether you want to record a concern, whether you want to give a feedback, it is amazing. So yes, it has been a great journey.
Yes, indeed. So, as you know, we are building a community of industry magnets. The move is meant for cross-pollination of knowledge and building a knowledge-sharing community of corporate giants and industry experts. What are your thoughts about these initiatives taken by Mr. Zishan Pathan, Mr. Heval Mehta, and the whole World Development Corporation team?
Community of industry magnets is extremely promising and exciting. I mean, it has a potential for positive changes, immense positive changes. You just mentioned about knowledge sharing, and knowledge sharing is, and in this platform or in the community of industry magnets, is a great learning opportunity across industries, and not just industries, but I'm sure it crosses geographical boundaries. So it has a global reach to it as well. I joined this institute and started learning, and I was telling my children about this, and I could see how they were inspired. So if you ask me, I think a community like this is really an inspiration to the next generation. And this community could also serve as a great mentoring platform or a mentoring opportunity, whether it is for individuals, whether for smaller communities, whether it is for startups or companies as a whole. So yes, I think it is in that sense a real inspiration. And with the kind of people that are there in this community, it is powerful. It is powerful and can make a wonderful impact on whatever aspect that the community takes up, whether they take it up for a social cause, whether they take it up for a society or a community, whether it is building something. So you have a nurturing environment, you make it inclusive, and it is a powerful and a wonderful tool. So I really applaud Mr. Zishan Pathan and Mr. Heval for building this community, and hope that we can at some point of time be part of it or partner with it, or hope the community and the world becomes a better place to live in.
Definitely. Thank you for these really kind words. It was fantastic conversing with you, and I'm confident that your insights will inspire future leaders. Thank you so much once again for joining us today, Ms. Alfons Madoc. We wish you the best for your future endeavors. Moreover, trust that this initiative by Directors Institute unquestionably expanded the participants' understanding and enriched their minds. We have been really glad to have you here today with us on FaceTime with Leaders, and I'm sure that all your wonderful insights, your different principles, your career journey that you have shared with us so far, I'm sure that everyone watching this, it is going to help them grow in their careers too.
Thank you, Falak, for those lovely words and this opportunity.